Copy have done, or in Bartoli, if the war hadn't interrupted, goodness knows. Another man had a great stretch of time between his victories. Alfredo Binda won in 1995 and again in 1933. It was an 8-year split between Binda's winning the Tour of Italy. So some of these great old names from the past. This is what it's all about. This is why I'm not disrespectful to any of the tours elsewhere than the Tour of France and the Tour of Spain and the Tour of Italy. But those three big tours that run for 3 weeks, there's so much history behind it. It's like Wimbledon. There's only one Wimbledon when it comes to tennis, isn't there? There's really, again, only one Monte Carlo when it comes to races. It's the most unusual Formula One race, but it's been held down there in the Principality for so many years now. It's got charisma. Certain events have a buzz about them, don't they? And whatever you try and do to put new events in place, then with all due respects to the lesser tours, the 5-7-day tour, 10-day tours, they never have the charisma of the big ones, the Tour of Italy, the Tour of France, the Tour of Spain. And we're bringing all those three, by the way, live on Eurosport this year. The first time we've done the triple and had all three here for you to watch. So I may bore you with voices from the past and what things have happened in the past, but if you are interested in some background to the sport, then certainly I can recommend. There's a book being turned out, I read it during the winter, called The True Story of Fausto Coppi by Jean-Paul Olivier, being translated from the French into English and is available from Bromley Books, who are there in Barnes, and you'll probably see it advertised in the cycling publications. And they also have a tape as well of his performances, and also the Challenge of the Century, Coppi Bartali, another tape they've got from Bromley Video Entertainments down there at the Terrace in Barnes in London. And it's very worth interesting looking at some of these old tapes, and they go into the archives and bring out, and you see the riders, the conditions they used to race under, the state of the roads at which they would ride under, and the way in which these chaps would ride for almost next to nothing. They weren't so well sponsored they are now. They didn't make the same sort of money. In fact, many of the riders had to go to work in the winter to survive, to come back as pros in the summer. There just wasn't that amount of money there at the time. But the legends, the stories are well worth having, and I'd recommend you to, if you're interested in cycling, you can't always get them from the libraries, books about cycling. In fact, somebody wrote to me and said, where do I get books on the facts of the Tour de France? And the difficulty is you can't get them when you go to your local bookshop. And I wrote back and told this chap where I think he might try and get some of the information. And it's something you accumulate over the years. I've got a massive library back at home, and I was very happy to have this Fausto Coppi book to read during the winter, which is almost like a novel. It's written in such a way that whilst it lists all his performances and how he came up and how he had the split in his family life, because he left his wife and went to live with what they call the White Lady, who was the wife of a doctor that they became interested in Fausto Coppi, and she used to follow him everywhere. He went to live with her in the end, had a great love story. It's almost like a novel when you read it, but it just says to you, well, this man Coppi, whilst in some ways he was a machine, he would win stages in the tours with such a massive lead that he was almost like a machine. But he had a heart then, this lovely White Lady, where he had this great love affair, and of course the terrible circumstance of his death when he caught some strange tropical disease when he went out with Geminiani shooting out in Africa and came back and died. And the whole story, you couldn't write a novel like Coppi's life. And he came from virtually nothing as a butcher's boy, riding a butcher's boy bike, a scrawny youth he was, built himself up, and the distances he would train and ride, and the help and care he got from his trainer. And he came from a very humble background to become one of the world's greatest bike riders ever. And so have been many other bike riders who've fought their way up just through sheer tenacity and their ability to ride bikes like this with the sun beating down. And in the old days too, they'd ride a lot further than we do now. They'd have a lot less help in the way in which the doctors now are swarming around and checking your blood and checking this and checking that and checking the other one. A lot of it was down to understanding passed down by seasoned people in cycle racing. But the greatest thing was Fausto Coppi, when they asked him what his secret was, he said, ride a bike, ride a bike, ride a bike. And I thought that is something we should never ever forget, that you cannot replace the the sheer ability to ride a bike and what comes from riding, not only in racing like this, but also when you're out training and you're driving yourself on and getting your fitness through. And there's big articles coming up now too about the way the casino team has started this year. They've had 39 successes, and a lot of people going around saying, oh, what are they on, what special potions they got, you know, what's the wizardry going on, what's in the bottles, what do they eat, you know, this is all done by chemistry and so on. And the trainer who's come to the team, this is only his second year with them, has said entirely that the whole thing was he's training each individual rider. He's obviously checking all the usual things, blood pressure, heart count, and making sure they're eating the right food. But he's given them a very strict training routine, and he likes interval training. He makes them ride hard. And the big thing with the casino team, that he was training them and making them ride right the way through the winter. They didn't have much of a layoff, so they come in the early season. Many of the riders who sort of hung up their wheels and had a few days off lost a bit of form. So when the casino boys came into the season, they were absolutely roaring. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see much of the casino team from now to the end of the season, unless one or two of them he's kept back and has been training hard to ride. So there's a lot more there. When you suddenly see people coming along, you've got to go back and say, hey, what have you been doing? I mean, what is it? Rodolfo Massi of the casino team has done something like 5,000 kilometres before he even got into the season. He went through the November period, December period, up at altitude in Mexico, doing 5,000 kilometres of high-intensity training. So, of course, when everybody else was sitting around eating their plum pudding and roast potatoes and their turkey, not perhaps that they do exactly that in Italy, but whilst they were doing that and having time with their family during December, the casino lads were out there flogging themselves to death, ride themselves into good form, and they come along the start of the season, they've got the strength in the legs, and off they go. And I think he was saying somewhere in the article that how if you're off for 2 weeks, that's right, if you interrupt your competition for a couple of weeks, you can lose 70% of your abilities, and you can suddenly go down. You could lose it very quickly. You get it back again, but you can suddenly begin to lose. You're only about 70%, so you lose 30%. You're only 70% of your efficiency if you're off the bike for a couple of weeks. You've got to really start training hard again there afterwards. So he's built up a very, very strong training program for the casino team, and they've had 39 victories now. So all the chaps you're seeing here, if you say, hey, I wish I'd be a racing cyclist, how nice it would be to leap on my bike and ride through this glorious countryside. Just think behind this, the hours they spend in the saddle training, and you have to go out. Many of the riders are moving further south now to get away from the north. In the old days, the riders used to live in Belgium. Most of the top men were there, and they used to train and race and ride in the Belgian rough stuff that we saw yesterday, beamed out by satellite from Belgium, all that dirty wet weather and the cobbles, and that's where the hard men came from. But they're now much more scientific. A lot of the riders are moving down into the south part of Europe so that they can get the warmth and the sun on their backs and can go training without having to worry about getting the flu and the colds and what have you. So back with our 2 leaders. Sorry I'm rabbiting on a bit there, but sometimes I get a bit carried away. Who said you should be carried away forever? Sorry about that, but I do get on my high horse occasionally, because there's no shortcut to being a successful competitor. Of course, some people are gifted. I mean, the Lion King himself, as we go on the blink again on this stage, we're just now showing you, as we got on the blink, was the overall classification. As I read it out, you look at that combination of flags down the left-hand side. Would you imagine the Ukrainian being in second spot in the Great Tour of Italy when they started out in 1909? The Swiss flag of Sulla, the Spanish flags you can see down there in 6th and 7th spot, and the Swiss flag just there in 9th too. So a great sort of League of Nations we've got for you on Eurosport. Free, of course. It comes out in the sky. You don't have to pay for it unless you've got it on cable. But most people that I seem to know seem to have got their own dish sat out in the garden or slapped to the wall, picking up the things out of the sky. These are our 2 escapers. So whilst I've been rabbiting on, you say, what the hell's been going on, David? Let me take you back through the start of the race then, when they came out from Maddaloni on this stage of 158 kilometres, where they now are climbing the Monte Terminillo, 1,250 metres above sea level. When they get over the top of this long gradual grind, they will have just 32 kilometres to go to the finish. And the action was that these 2 riders you're seeing now on your screen, left of the 7 men that went away to begin with, Paronti and Scamdorini, they were first and second. So there are only 2 left of the 7-man group that went away, and they went away on that climb of the Baliccio di Monte Taburno, and after 44 kilometres over the top of that climb, they were opening up a gap which eventually was getting the thick end of 5 minutes. So that's the two lads you're looking at now. The 7 men that were with, one by one, like the 10 green bottles, they accidentally fell and they drifted back a bit. The first to go was Chepo Gonzalez, who fell off on the way down the mountain on the other side, so he lasted about 47, 48 kilometres into the race, and off he went. He's back in the rain bunch at the moment, and they rolled on through towards Avellino, and after 93 kilometres into Avellino, they got a lead of about 3 minutes by then, 2.5 to 3 minutes, and they went through there on that sprint for the Giro, where Fagnini got that one. Baronti was second and Scamborini was third. They're the only three left of that little 7-man group that went away, and the last man to be dropped off from that breakaway group has been Fagnini of the Psycho Cannondale team. And now we're looking at these two riders here who are still hanging on at the front. The best placed rider in this particular group, Scamborini of the Brescia team, was 55 seconds down on general classification, and technically at one time was the race leader, picking off the pink jersey there, Bartoli. But I think he knew with his ASICS CJ team they could grind away, pull back the leaders, and so they've done their work very well indeed. As his teammate there in the green jersey, that's Paolo Bertini, who leads on the King of the Mountains competition, takes some liquid refreshment. They're nearly up the top there. See what I say? It roars down the other side, and then it goes on, and that funny little flap at the top is just some 3.7 kilometres long. I think it exaggerates the length of that run-in from the final King of the Mountains climb of the day. It's only 3.7 kilometres, and it's round the lake, the Lago Laceno, that they go to finish today at the end of the 158 kilometres on the stage 6 of the Tour of Italy. There we are, up towards the climb. Looking back then at the Valle de Monte Tabori, that was Chepo Gonzalez. We're putting now back in, I mentioned earlier on that Chepi fell off on the way down. I don't know if we're going to see that as well. The producer has a great gift of throwing in things we didn't expect to see, and I've been rabbiting on about that first climb and what to expect up it comes, so thank you much indeed for that. But Chepo Gonzalez, it was going over the top there and eventually falling off in a big heap down the other side. I don't quite know why they showed that in that particular order, because the official result of that climb of the Monte Taburno was that Baronti was first, Scamborini was second, and Fagnini was third. But at least we saw a picture of the banners, didn't we? Perhaps that must be it. You can see by the number of riders we've got left here at the moment that this is not a sort of climb. Well, there's Chepo Gonzalez, a quick little number 92 at the back. Normally he'd climb a bit nearer to the front, but I think perhaps he must be suffering with the crash he had earlier on, but at least he's survived so far. What's happening here? The ASICS, oh, he's going for a drink. I just watched the ASICS CJ rider drift across the right-hand side, and I thought perhaps he'd blown a gasket, but he went for a drink. Still driving this one along quite comfortably. This isn't the sort of climb that we're likely to see anybody doing anything stupid. I reckon it'll drive over just like this, because it's not it's steep. I mean, it drags up. It's going to hurt the legs, go to tar people, but it's not one of those things where you can explode, go over the top, and come down the other side and hope to stay away to the finish. It's just going to be a wearing down process and a chance of catching these blokes. 20 k's to go. So there they are on the climb up toward the top. In fact, I'm terribly wrong on that, because I said 20 kilometres to go. They slotted the 20 up, but the Monte Terminino is 32 kilometres from the finish, so I don't quite know what that 20k sign was. No doubt all will be revealed in future. It must be just a trick. Brescia is a milk producing company, by the way. You saw a quick jersey there, and Liquid Gas is one of their co-sponsors. And the fellows at the back won't do chasing, because they've got their teammate up in front at the moment. They won't do anything to try and pull back Scamborini, who is riding at the moment just ahead of the crew. I think they'll probably catch them just after the top of the King of the Mountains. There is a certain amount of gentlemanly sort of, well, after you Claude, no, after you Claude, because those two are, unless they blow tremendously, they could probably hang on to the top of the climb, get themselves something for the day's work, and then this lot will just go after them, grab them, and that's it. It's sort of feeling, well, they've entertained the audience for the day. Let him have a bit of moment out there and pick up a few bob. As Mappe start ominously to move forward. Well, yeah, and now see, hasn't CJ spotted that one, and look how he moved across. Very nice. Very nice tactics, very cleverly done. We'll just squash him against the Armco. Very nicely done. Nothing totally illegal about that, but he looked over his shoulder, saw Mappe moving up, and he thought, hello, no, go on, we'll just keep driving this one. You sit in that little hole behind us. And so you just close that gap down and stop him leaping about. Because Mappe have got so many guns to fire at the moment that Mappe Brickaby team, Pavel Tomkov is their leader, and young Gabriel Misaglia has been jumping around quite a bit, and they might fire him off down the road because Oscar Kamazin is also quite capable of catching a few people napping. So there we are, getting close to the top of the climb. They're surviving this one. Well, that 20 must have been 200 metres from the top. And there they go. Good, they've got it. Yeah, that's it. Now they've got it. Off we go. And as you expect, the King of the Mountains, Paolo Bettini, romping away to get some points. And he's done it. Got third spot there. So keep that jersey again into tomorrow. Yeah, the Brescia rider's got across to him just to keep an eye on things. I'm not quite sure what the tactics are right now, but Raimondi went up to him. Yeah, I think it's all over by the shouting now. So the moment of being temporarily in the pink for Gambari is gone. Baronti, the leader of the Cantina Tolo team, who are at the moment, I think, a bit of a wild card in with the Tour de France. They're not one of those teams in that automatically select each other, the top 16. Sorry about this trouble with the pictures, but Cantina Tolo been enlivening this race so far, with Bronte going away there. Actually, Di Renzo, number 52, is always good for lone breaks. Finished way off the back yesterday. He was last man to finish. They've got a good sprinter in Massimino Strazzo, who's had a second place. And of course, with Sergio Gonchar taking the pink jersey, and Martin Havista was in an early break today as well. So they're obviously a pretty a team that will take advantage of any situation to try and grab some glory. So they might yet be the Cantina Tolo Alexa Alou team in the Tour de France. We'll have to wait and see if they do get selected. I think it's around about June the 15th or thereabouts, mid-June, when the final wildcard selections are made for the Tour de France. Because they have a selection process of the top 16 on the UCI list automatically as at January get themselves selected. They're after that to make up the extra 4 or maybe 30 kilometres to go. That's through time because they went over the top with 32 to go now. 30 kilometres to go. Nothing in it at the moment, so they're going to get swallowed up. But the Tour de France have an ability to select the extra riders they want, and this year they're talking of having 21 teams in, so there's 5 more teams yet to be slotted in. And normally you would expect the sort of 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th teams perhaps to go straight in, because they have to leave that gap open for teams that are formed for the first time and don't have the right number of points and start to ride very well indeed. And I know there's a lot of questions asked as our 2 breakaway leaders who went away down the road after some 30 kilometres had gone, or just before that. So they've now done about 100 kilometres, or just more than 100 kilometres. So after more than 60 miles of racing, our final 2 breakaway riders out of the original 7 have been swept up into the bunch, and the big boys will start to fire the guns now. But going back to the Tour de France, they have to have that sort of little gap, and the Casino team, which in those days was called the Petit Casino team, were one of the wildcard teams about 3 years ago, and everybody sort of cast a question mark over it, but it gave the confidence to the sponsor to keep going. And as I say that, one of the Casino riders nips off the front anyway, so Frederic Besset's on his way here. But they got, I think, a stage victory or something. They certainly performed quite well, and so the team. Hello, what's happening here? There's a big back group of the riders here. That's Claudio Chiappucci coming off the back, so he's taking a bit of a pasting right now, Claudio Chiappucci, and I don't know what his teammates waving his arms about for right now, but so Luca Gelfi with Claudio Chiappucci have been distanced on that climb. Although there's quite a fair big group of riders behind us, behind it, they're in dribs and drabs, and certainly the Olympic champion Pascal Richard has been blown out the back, which I don't think we're very happy with that one. We're still having a few problems. Well, on descent, it's always possible to pride yourself away and have a few moments' glory. So Frederic Bessy from France won't get very far at this rate of knots. It drops. If we get on the chance of that, looking at that graphic, it really does go down at a fair, sensible rate all the way before it gets into the bottom of the valley. So I don't think that we're going to find the riders here. There's a little blip, the Passo Cruci, as it drops down, we got a little blip for about 1 kilometre, and then it goes right there down to a place called Montella, and then it starts to climb up towards the finish. So I think we're on the little blip at the moment. Just wait for this little lot to sort itself out. Just an opportunist move really for both these two riders. I don't think the group behind are going to let them get very far away on this run-in. Well, they're up. Well, Loda's been jumping around a bit. Objected to a second place he had a bit before. They're going to get him, I think, now. So Bessy would load up as they now start to go down the other side, and they haven't got much of a lead at the moment. I think they like to find themselves being swept up. It's sometimes we've been to this finish, which is way up in no man's land. So the trouble is, once you get to the finish at the Lago Laceno, the last time it was up here was in 1976, because there's really nothing round about in the way of hotel and accommodation. Everybody's got to make an awful long trip away from here to find a bed for the night, but that's somewhere ahead. Well, they drop down the mountain now with maybe about 27 kilometres to go to the finish. You can see by the signs there they've been racing for coming towards 4 hours, and the temperature quite respectable, nice and warm. The wind starting out a bit behind them, and then it's been drifting over as a crosswind, but nothing really to cause any big problems, and a good day for bike racing. And they're heading further down the leg of Italy. If you've got your maps in front of you, we're just, if you look inland from Naples, we're running down on a road that's been virtually parallel through. They're now saying they're on the trouble with finishing up here. We haven't finished up here since 1976. Everyone's going to go right the way back down the road we've come up now, right the way back to stay in towns like Avellino. There's just not enough accommodation up at the Lac de Lanceno for everybody to bed down for the night. And in any case, getting on to the next day's racing, it's easier to try and go nearer to the start than it is towards the finish, and we're going down tomorrow to Montella to start the stage, so we're going to get a long way of another travelling day as far as the ride is concerned, but nevertheless going to be a jolly good finish. Haven't been using this particular finish since 1976, and a quick look at his results here for you. I'm sure you'd like to know who won. Right, 1976, Roger de Vlaeminck it was that got in to the finish ahead of Eddie Merckx and Felice Gimondi, and that was way back in 1976. So it's now 22 years since we had the finish up here, and the winner that time of the pink jersey was Felice Gimondi. Avellino will certainly be used by many of the teams when they go back down to get accommodation. It's quite a modern sort of town in some ways. We don't have much chance to see it when we look back at the sprint, but it's well known for the local craftwork. They have this nice inlaid and carved woodwork as well. So I was thinking about going out to find themselves some souvenirs. There's plenty of chance to do that. By the way, this is this place in Avellino where you've got some lovely mozzarella made from buffalo's milk, and We'd like some pecorino, that's also made from ewe's milk. And there's another one called Treccio, which is made from cow's milk, cheese and mozzarella. So that's, when they're back down there, they can have a good choice tonight with whatever they want. My mistake when I was talking to the people in that bar, the pizza bar in Poland Street, I ordered my Vesuvius when I finally get there. Of course, sorry, it's a pasta bar in Poland Street, not a pizza bar. So I was putting in the wrong order. So I'm sorry about that. Then, if you lovers of pasta, I was after my Vesuvius, because Mount Vesuvius is not far from Napoli. And if you ever see Vesuvius on your pizza menu, it means it's blasted hot, blows the lid off your head. In fact, I might well have one tomorrow night. I'm just could do with something a bit sort of rather potent. Why not tonight, you ask? Well, we've got a very funny day tomorrow. We're going to be on rather late. We've got all the racing to do, and then we've got to sort it out for you people back at home, because I think we've only got a half-hour programme tomorrow because there's so much motorcycle racing going on, and it'll be a rather late finish tomorrow night, so we should then be able to attack the pizza bar and not have these problems you have like we're getting today. Well, here we go. Down the descent. They really are rocketing. They'll have a little moment of joy and pleasure here. Nice road, nice and smooth. I would suggest, having not examined the tarmac too precisely, but it would seem to me that, as with all the major tours, when it comes into your area for the first time in many years, the thing to do is to get the roads relayed. And this is absolutely superb route. Considering this is the middle of no man's land, we're miles from anywhere really, except, well, Salerno is right the way down the valley where some of the teams will be staying tonight. That's a fair old journey to get down from here, but we are up in the Monte Picentini, and this part of the world doesn't normally get a lot of traffic, so the parts of the road have been quickly put back into good form for the riders. So there we go then, as they drop down the descent. By the time we get to the bottom, I'm sure the whole situation is likely to change, because the gap is only 18 seconds for our two leaders. The main field still chasing after our two breakaway riders on this stage 6, Maddaloni to Lago Laceno, with Loda and Bessi hovering around about 15-16 seconds ahead of the main group. They're still on the descent of the second last climb of the day from Monte Terminio, the top of that climb 1,250 metres above sea level. They're on the way down now the other side, and it's a nice, smooth, easy descent, so there's going to be no great drama, I think, as they all come down here. And a lot of riders still in contention. We've only lost a couple of riders so far in the race. Rossato was out, but on the first day with some stomach trouble, and Uriarte dropped out yesterday, so we've only lost a couple so far. Most of the field seem to be fairly compact behind our two breakaways here, who are trying to make a name for themselves by dropping like stones, and they won't go that much faster than the main group, so they'll be lucky to get out the bottom of this descent with more than 20-25 seconds lead, I would think, and that means nothing. Look at that mountain ahead, and that's where they're heading. They've got to go up a climb which lies ahead of the riders, 5.3 kilometres of climbing, which will take them up from 654 metres above sea level to 1,086 metres on that climb, which is a bit tougher than the one you've seen so far. The running up there was an average of 6.7%, nothing terribly difficult, but I think it might have a few lads with their legs a bit hurting after being another hot day in the saddle on this one, which will cover 158 kilometres. That's just under 100 miles, and again the sun is beating down. Glorious bike racing conditions, and let's hope it stays this way as we go on right the way down towards the bottom of Italy, turn and go right way back up to the Dolomites and the Alps before they run into Milan to finish there on coming up to 2 weeks on Sunday, isn't it? You lose track of the days. The Tour of Italy next year will start in Sicily, so they're heading down towards, you know, the boot, the shape of Italy, like a boot, well, where the toe is kicking what looks like a triangular football, that being Sicily. The Tour will start there next year, and they have announced not only the start point but also the first 3 stages in Sicily. That's one thing that the Tour of Italy do, unlike the Tour de France, when there's a lot of rumours about where next year's race will be. Certainly the Tour de France has already said its start next year, but beyond that you know very little, and but right now it has been announced not only where the start of the Tour of Italy will be next year, where the first 3 stages will be in Sicily, I suppose, to enable people to start booking up their holidays to go and watch the race. Well, I hope we shall bring you that one as well. We've had the Tour of Italy and Sicily before. In fact, I remember it was about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was working on the tour for another company. We were then in Sicily, so it looks like the race will go there again to start next year, and then it'll work its way up. And I suppose it'll zigzag a bit before it gets up, because I still like to finish in Milan. And rather like now, we start up in the north at Nice. The third time it started outside Italy. Then they work their way right the way down the shin part of the boot, and then we're turning across over the heel and back up the back end of it, up to the calf and in towards the top, where the top of the boot is, up in the Alps and Dolomites. I suppose we're starting down in Sicily, have to zigzag a bit, otherwise we'll hit the Alps and things a bit too soon. I'm looking forward to speaking to my good friend Luigi later on, about 2 or 3 days, because the race is going straight past where he lives now. And I've mentioned this character who had this restaurant in the west side of London, and so he'll be waiting anxiously for the tour to appear on his doorstep, having spent a lot of time earning some money in the west side of London, just out from Greenford, where I must remember exactly where it was. Feltham? I remember went there a long time in the past, but nevertheless, I'm sure he's looking for the tour coming through. He's watched Eurosport's coverage, and of course now we're broadcasting in, as we've got 15 kilometres to go, broadcasting in Italian as well. We have somewhat 14, 15 languages covering the cycle racing. And they're in Montella, up on your screen. Montella, 560 metres above sea level, so they're now at the bottom of the descent, and we'll be starting the gradual glide upwards towards the finish. And let's see, I don't think those two Fuji are going to stay very long out there in the lead. And who is going to start jumping around and trying to take that jersey off Bartoli? Bartoli has said, by the way, that he wants to try and concentrate perhaps next year more on a big thing like the Tour of Italy or the Tour de France or the Tour of Spain, a Grand Course, because with stages, because he's a very good one-day rider. We've seen him knock off the Liège-Bastogne-Liège and so on, and he's of course winning on the World Cup leader at the moment, the series of the big classics, and I think probably next year he may relax from riding the big classics and look to try and do well overall in a big tour. So Michel Bartoli will have to watch his career with great interest to see if that's what he does. That's the fellow down there in the pink at the moment, and just that extend the lead over on general classification. You've just switched on. I'm David Duffield. Good afternoon to you. This is the Tour of Italy, and this is the stage of the race, stage 6, which the sprinters won't exactly enjoy unless they take it easy on the climb. We get this great group going through, because we've still got to Cipollini sat in the midst of that lot. But in the overall classification, the pink jersey there, Michel Bartoli, has a lead of 3 seconds over Gonchar of the Catino Tolo team, and over Mariano Piccoli of the Brescia Liquidas team. He's got just 11 seconds lead, and that's a 12-second bonus for the first rider over the line. If Mr. Mariano Piccoli, who's wearing the plum-coloured jersey, the Ciclamino jersey, can pop over and get away from Bartoli, then he might be able to take other pink jersey too. So the ASICS CJ team have got to keep the lid on this one to make sure that neither Gonchar, who's not a great climber anyway, or Piccoli get away from them. And these two, well, they're having their moment of glory trying to stay out there right now. Just looking at Nicola Loda from the Ballan team, and then in there with him right now from the Casino squad, that's Frederick Bessy. I think their general hope is that because of the interest in the overall classification, that the thing won't erupt too much. They'll try and keep the lid on it. What's tomorrow's stage like? Let's see if they're not wanting to hurt themselves, because sometimes you get a reasonable ride. No, see, tomorrow it's not too bad tomorrow. They're going over quite a number of ups and downs tomorrow. They've got a couple of, 3 climbs over 10,000 metres, sorry, over 1,000 metres before the finish, but the finish is again a bit of a short, sharp climb, but it's fairly well downhill towards the finish tomorrow. The next day we've got a stage for the sprinters when we finish in Lecce. That's fairly flat, slightly too into Vasto, into Macerata, so we're not going to hit the very big hilly stuff until we get on to a couple of days from now. So there should be every reason to have a go. There's no reason that they shouldn't bust a gut here, because tomorrow, although it goes up and down quite a bit, they can all regroup before they get in towards the finish. So, Mappe taking over. Yes, they've got to start hurting a few legs now, I think. They can't allow this thing to just roll onto the finish and the pink jersey not to be put under some sort of pressure. And Mappe Brickaby on the overall classification, they've got Oscar Kamazin 9th overall at the moment. Well, that's the rundown on their team. You can see with Pavel Tonkov, 91, second last year, and the winner the year before. Gianni Bono, twice world champion, stage victor in Tours of France and Italy and Spain. And down that little list was, you probably saw the name, Oscar Kamazin. And the other little chap who's like to pop out and do some damage, given half a chance, is the rider from the number 98, Gabriel Misaglia, who could again cause a few surprises like we've been trying to do in the past. But Mappe Brickaby have got two riders in 9th and 10th place. Oscar Kamazin at 23 seconds and Pavel Tonkov at 10 seconds. So, sorry, 10th at 26 seconds. So they're I think determined now to try and make the ASIC CGA team hurt a bit. And on the front, that looks to me like Zbigniew Spruch. Well, you see the size of that fellow, great big barrel-chested, large lump that he is. He's a good sprinter, Zbigniew Spruch. He's 32 years of age and he's had more than his fair share of sprint victories in the past. And they sent him down the road to be the first to bury himself. He's got this far, but I think he's the first that they've got to say, right, it's your turn to put the screw on the pink jersey. You drive this one for a bit, and then when you fall off, we'll take over. As look, the Mercatonero start to... well, we're getting information coming over that we think that Pascal Richard has abandoned the race. We're getting information coming from the back of the race sounding like Richard has abandoned. Well, that'd be a disappointment for his Tour de France hopes. Pascal Richard, who had a pretty grotty season last year, and I think he had some illness or sickness again at the start of this one, has now abandoned. So the Olympic champion not firing on all cylinders. He'll have to ride, I'm sure, the Tour of Switzerland, which will be coming on Eurosport live, to see if he can get the form to stay with the Casino team in the Tour de France. Pascal Richard, a very seasoned campaigner, but we'll find out later on why he's abandoned, what his problem was, because the trouble is you can get sickness on a race like this. I mean, some of the riders have been suffering with bronchitis. Cipollini was coughing and spluttering and have to have antibiotics, and when you're having treatment like that and they're riding along at steady 25 miles an hour uphill and downhill, if you're coughing and spluttering or you're having the toilet two steps, it's not exactly an ideal condition to be riding a bike averaging over 100 miles a day and expecting to have the strength to do it at an average speed of 25 miles an hour. So with 40 seconds for Loda and Bessie, Pascal Richard now is another one to join the list of those who have dropped out the race. Look, see Mr. Pantani, 101, prancing along. If you missed the early part of the programme, I said that, see, look, there was Zbigniew Spruch has got, that's it. So next to go will be Gianni Bugno. Gianni will drive this one hard. If he's driving a bit too hard, hey, stay up, Gianni. Come on, give us a chance. God dear me. So he's ripped it a bit too fast, rolling away there. That's caused a bit of consternation because he went through and blew it apart. And the object of the exercise surely is to drive this one on. Is it Gianni Bugno? Let's have a look. It looks like somebody from Mappe wound up a bit too sharp. Don't think that's Gianni Bugno. But whoever set that one going didn't do the right thing. It looks like Bugno. He's got a sort of unusual style. Yes, it is. Gianni Bugno. Gosh, what a man. He's just rode past Spruch when Spruch decided he was gutted and just rode off it. Look at him. You've done damage, Gianni. Hang on. That's it. Oh, he's back for a bit. Keep my eye on things. That really was a bit of a you know, how many bike races in this programme have been exactly the same? You're going along and somebody goes on the front and pow! All the splits come and there's a big purge and you're grovelling on the wheels. Well, Gianni went a bit too quick then, didn't he? Of course, the trouble is when you get something like Gianni Bugno's job is just to keep the thing going at a fair old pace. And you know damn well he's got to peel over after a while and slide gently off the back. And if you've got aims and aspirations to finish up in the top 10 or something, you feel gutty when he goes and does that and breaks your rhythm up. It's a bit too early in the race for him to go for a stage victory. This is the thing I would expect him to do when the overall situation is more or less settled, so all the top people with the jerseys and all the success have managed to get what they want, because Bunyo usually pops out towards the back end of a tour, and the later years of his life here, he's such a seasoned campaigner. He knows exactly when to go and give it the old 1-2 and get himself a stage victory, and I'd expect him to do that sort of thing at the back end of the race, not the early part, but he certainly ripped them to pieces, and he's at it again. Good Lord. I wouldn't mind forming a Gianni Bunyo fan club in some respects, because he's an amazing man, but I think it wouldn't last very long, because he's probably going to retire next year. There's some great, look, he's pulled them back, he's done it, he's gone up there. And of course, when you get something like this, you know, the grand old man of the sport, but I'm being very rude, what's Bunyo now? He's 34 years of age, comes up to you like that, you think, oh dear, Bunyo's come up and here we are. I suppose you just sit there now and put the lid on things. He's got to be the oldest man in the race, hasn't he, Gianni Bunyo? Oh no, Claudio Chiappucci. Claudio Chiappucci is 35. Hand up all you 30-somethings who would like to be riding a bike at 25 miles an hour in the baking heat for something like about 2,500 miles in 22 days, and living out of a suitcase and staying in hotels. Well, that's what these boys are doing. They're making a few bob at it, but now they're virtually all back together. Just this little splinter at the front as we're getting towards the end of this stage today. When Bunyo closed down that breakaway group with those two riders up the front, Bessie and Sprook, I thought to begin with that he was just doing it to catch up with them and sit on the wheels and say, we've now got the big guns behind us, so you might as well ease back and we can come across just like that. But I wonder if he's going to try and attempt to drive this one on and get a stage victory himself. It was such a very strong move on his part, and nobody else would be expecting it, by the way. They expected to do what I just said, that he would go up there, have a look round, wait for a bit, and then wait for the bunch to come up. But he's certainly driving this one along. Well, he's a bit down on general classification, so the ASIC CJ team aren't going to be too worried about this one. And he's not going to be up there on the podium when we get to Milan at the end of it all. So he's a little more rotund now. When you get to his age, 34, you'll be into a middle-aged spread sets in, even for cycling. Now there they come. And he's got to haul that body up. He's quite a sort of well-built character. When you look at some of the little mountain climbers here, they're just so slim. They've got, you don't have sort of the large thighs he's got. So look at his side, look at his chest of this fellow here. Bettini leading on the King of the Mountain, and little sprightly Oscar Camazin bouncing around now. Bunyo's got strength, but when he comes to this sort of climb, then suddenly then we get the Camo Costa Blanca ride starting. There's Sulla. Now Sulla is probably a bit taller than Bunyo, but again he's like a yard of pump water. And look at his skinny arms and skinny calves, nice big well-developed thighs to push the bike around. I'm amazed about this Fausto Coppi. I suddenly keep talking about it. If you ever see pictures of him, he's got an enormous barrel chest, full of oxygen he can get into his lungs, and he got these enormous thighs, and he got spindly little calves and arms, very spindly arms, and narrow across the shoulders, and his big hook nose, what my good friend Hugh Porter calls a pursuiter's hooter, because Fausto Coppi was a World Pursuit champion, our record holder, and he got all these natural characteristics of big chest, big thighs, thin calves, thin arms, carrying no excess weight at all, and ability to fill his lungs with oxygen, and that was what you want for people who climb the mountain. Little Piccoli here, sorry, Bettini in the blue, is a very small chap, and some of the small chaps are often more compact. They don't have the description I was just talking about, bodily description. They're much shorter, more compact, but then they're not pushing up much weight. I know he's dropping back now, Bettini, in the green jersey, King of the Mountains. Well, he managed to get over the top of that last climb in third spot, so he's probably got enough points to keep the jersey now. And let's see who's going to win the stage. We're on the climb proper now. Camazin goes forward. Festina starting to make life difficult for the man in the pink jersey. Nice climbing style here there for Armin Meyer, who's been drafted in really to look after the interests of Zuller. I don't think he's going to do anything more than keep the pace up here to make sure that the top men challenging Zuller can get too far down. He won't be going for a stage victory here. They're just going to keep the lid on things. It's changed now quite dramatically from when Bessie, Loader and then Borneo went away. We've now got the true climbers coming through on this climb. Sorry, 5.3 meters of climbing, kilometers of climbing, and then 3.7 meters, 3.7 kilometers, get it right, 3.7 kilometers on the flat to the finish. Pantani ominously moving up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back on the far left-hand side there. The bald head very easy to pick out. Kamazin with the white cross of Switzerland on his red jersey, the pink jersey. The overall leader Bartoli, and then Gotti wearing number 1, last year's victor, just behind him. There, Zuller poised, number 78, 91 moving through. Pavel Tonkov, the top men are coming through to the front now. Oh, look at this, the confidence from the man himself in the pink jersey, Bartoli, looking back here, and Pantani moves across. Well, this is amazing for a man who's been struggling with migraine in the early part of the Tour of Italy, who would not, I suppose, normally be looked upon as the sort of character to be out there. It's his first time he's ridden the Tour of Italy for Bartoli. Now he's got the pink jersey, but Pantani starts to go forward so smoothly. 41 seconds separating him from the pink jersey. Will this be the day he can do it? Somehow I think not, because it does flatten out the top with the run in towards the finish of only just under 4 kilometers. So Pantani perhaps only willing to show that he's got the ability. He's done this before. He tried on Capoberta on the stage earlier on in the race when he ripped away and just showed people he was still there. Every time he come to a mountain, he says he's under-raced, he's under-trained. He had that sickness which stopped him riding in the Tour of Romandie, and he's riding himself back into form. So I think every time he does this, it's just a sort of, hey, I'm still here, but Gotti's come across to him. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is by long shot to win the race this year, Pantani, but he's still being marked out by a lot of good talent. And of course, the trouble is, Pantani's concerned, we've got 2 quite significant time trials. It's not his number 1 sport time trialing. He can batter great lumps out of people. I remember when Pantani first burst on the scene, it must be about 4 years ago in the Tour of Italy, when in 2 consecutive mountain stages before the run down to finish in Milan, he won 2 on the trot, and he leapt up from nowhere on the general classification to start threatening the pink jersey, and everybody said, Pantani, who's he? Well, he has actually won the amateur Giro d'Italia, and it was his first year as a pro, and he just showed people in the big Alps and Dolomites that he climbed superbly, caught everybody napping, and since then he's been very much a marked man in the mountains, but right now he's showing his skill and his ability to go up the mountains, but I wonder if he's gone a bit too soon, because it does flatten out at the top, and that isn't really Pantani territory. You know, we've seen him take the Tour de France up the Alpe d'Huez, for instance, where those 21 climbs suit him perfectly, because you can still sweep round, you're climbing all the way through to the finish, but this one's slightly different, and so Bartoli, if he survives, and then Zuller comes up behind him, could still keep the gap between himself and Pantani, so that Pantani doesn't take over the pink jersey. 41 seconds separating Pantani from the pink jersey today. And look at the damage that's being done further down. I hope a helicopter goes up there, but we saw this enormous wodge of riders getting to the bottom of the climb, fairly compact, and suddenly the climbing specialists have just ripped it to pieces, and they're going off the back in dribs and drabs. A lot of time can be lost today. Now they've just got it with 7 kilometers to go to just contain themselves here. Guarini for the Polti team, just sitting in that little group as well. And here, Pavel Tonkov, an amazing man. You don't see much of him throughout the season. He just pops up in the Tour of Italy, rides well in the Tour of Switzerland as well. That's about all he does each year, gets himself a place on the podium. and then we don't see much of him again. He's got tremendous ability to stand the 3 weeks of pressure, and here tremendous effort too by Bartoli to defend that pink jersey. He's got to go, but I somehow don't think he can surely hold the pace of Pantani on this climb, and I'm wondering why he doesn't ride with the back group. But he's on his own here. Of course, when you're on a climb, you can do your own thing. In fact, they're going to come up to him one at a time now. Well, LeBlanc is trying to get up to him as well. Now, can he have some help, or is he going to go straight past him? Bartoli ought really to be sitting on the wheels and letting somebody else chase down Pantani, surely. The unfortunate thing is he's lost his teammate. Bartoli's lost Bettini in the green jersey, who should have been able to help. Now, see still that Zulla's still got one of his teammates with him as well. I think that he's nicely placed at the moment, but look at this style. It makes you want to puke, doesn't it? The people are gifted like this to go up mountains, and the suffering is further down. Pantani's sitting there softly, softly, piano, piano, and it's just going away. Ah. Well, LeBlanc has done the right thing, I think, just sitting on the wheels here. Pantani up in front. Where's LeBlanc over on general classification? He is 18th at 33 seconds. Pantani's naming blazing there. I wonder if he's going to be up there on the rostering on the stage. Somehow I think it is hardly improbable, because there's some talent here that could probably sweep him up. Ivan Gotti wearing number 1 on his back, 91 here, that's Tonkov, and just riding up alongside him, Davide Rebellin of the Polti team. Polti well placed in there. Green is also there, and they've let the Blanc go down the road, so Polti looking very strong now. The Tifosi gets rather excited, as we can see here. The Blanc looking very comfortable. Bartoli is ploughing away here. Can't quite understand why he's so determined to stay with Pantani. Perhaps it's just psychological, because Pantani starting out today at 41 seconds down, he'll get 12 seconds bonus, and I think providing he can just keep that gap. You heard about the Italian Tifosi? Well, now you see him live on Eurosport. Do you think anybody's interested in cycling Italy? Well, we've seen some enthusiastic crowds on the Tour de France, but this lot is something else, eh? You've seen them swarming onto the track at the end of a Formula 1 race. You've seen them swarming over the place in the like the Milan, along the San Remo rally, with the cars sundering round. Well, now you see him on Eurosport in the Tour of Italy. Live action on today's stage 6 of the race, from Maddaloni to Lagolaceno. They've come all the way up the valley. The road's been closed for hours just to see them, and they're happy to see Pantani here showing his great climbing skills. But don't forget, I mentioned before, when we get to the top of this one here, there's still 3 points. So, oh, Tonkov's blown. Tonkov's losing a lot of time here. Guarini together with Rebellin for Polti, just sitting there because they've got LeBlanc down the road, so undoubtedly Polti will be moving up on the team classification today. But for Mercatonuna Bianchi, Pantani is making life difficult for the man in the pink jersey, so Bartoli is still struggling. Look at Zulla's now moved up very comfortably to join them as well. He's got up to LeBlanc, so suddenly from nowhere Zulla has come up, and Zulla this morning behind Bartoli was at 15 seconds. If Zulla can go away from the pink jersey and get a place in the top 3 as he's trying to do now, he can take the pink jersey back again, and Bartoli tries to get back to him. Bartoli knows only 15 seconds separate him from Zulla, and Zulla's gone away now, but has Zulla gone too soon? What a race we've got. A, to win the stage today, and B, to take over that pink jersey. Pantani's got a big mountain to climb with 41 seconds separating, but this man Zulla has only 15 seconds between himself, and he goes straight past Pantani, and Bartoli is fighting back. Bartoli is fighting back. The brilliant performance by Bartoli, but Zulla still pressing on. But he's the sort of man with 5 kilometres to go. They're not quite to the top of the climb yet, but he's the sort of man, Zulla, that on the flat part can really start to motor if Bartoli has blown a gasket and Pantani is quickly on the wheel. Over the top of the climb, the King of the Mountains competition point will be just down the road from them, and then the run in 3.7 kilometres to the finish. Suddenly Leblanc starts to go through, but Bartoli desperately searching for a wheel to hang on to, knowing that Zuller, the danger man, 15 seconds down this morning, is now giving him a tremendous thrashing on the road, but he's responding all the way up now on this climb. Zuller still pounding away, Pantani behind him. What a race we've got. Looking back down the road, the pink jersey seems to have blown a gasket, and Bartoli is still fighting to stay in contention. I'm going to quick check on the watch then, but I think it's only about 6 or 7 seconds at the moment for Zuller, looking round so confidently. Zuller ploughing up here. This is the King of the Mountains, but he's still got that little run in toward the finish yet. That's only the King of the Mountains he's gone through now. It goes flat from this point. He's got 3.7 kilometres left to the finish. 12 seconds bonus is there for the man who wins the stage, as Pantani goes over in second spot. Luc Leblanc makes third at 8 seconds. The gap back then to the pink jersey is now at 13 seconds. At 13 to 12 for victory would give Zuller 25 seconds, would put Zuller back in the pink. Bartoli is now on the flat, got to fight his way back. He's got to get to Zuller, he's got to stop Zuller winning the stage. Absolutely tremendous performance so far by the Festina rider, as Vladimir Belli rides up behind. But I don't think he'll try and cross that gap and bring up the pink jersey. About 3 kilometres to go. Around about 4 minutes racing at the most. This is a fascinating turnaround again in the Tour. We've seen different winners day after day. We've seen the pink jersey change as we've gone through live on Eurosport in the afternoon, bringing you this great race, the second biggest classic 3-day race in the world. The Tour of Italy this year has been full of action right the way through the start. Bartoli's coming back. The flat part is going to suit Bartoli, the leader on the World Cup, the man we saw in the Liège Bastogne Liège ramp up those climbs, showing his strength now, but it's a time trial already, 1 against 1. If Bartoli goes past those two riders, I think as he will do, Luc Leblanc and Pantani, then they will just let him do the work. Pantani now won't have any chance on the flat part running in toward the finish to take the victory, and so if Pantani's got any sense now, he should just backtrack and sit in Bartoli's wheel, and let us watch live on Eurosport Zuller versus Bartoli. That's it, just as I said, on his wheel, let the two bash themselves to pieces on the road in toward the finish. Brilliant racing. I rate the gap is still around about 15 seconds between Bartoli and Zuller as they're going round the lake here. The Lac Latino, no way in which the jolly old crocodiles are going to come out and snap at this lot. Everybody's watching with the greatest enjoyment here. That 18 seconds separating the first 3 kilometres to go, but really in that distance Zuller is on his own, and the pink jersey. This is a little chase group we've got now at the moment. A lot of chase groups coming up, but whilst it's nice to see on the box, what we're interested in is, can Zuller survive these last couple of kilometres, and can he get in? And if he wins, he gets 12 seconds. He then has to have another 4 seconds between himself and Bartoli to take the pink jersey. He took the pink jersey on day 1 in Nice in the prologue time trial. He kept the pink jersey then into stage Nizza-Cugno when it was won by Piccoli. He kept the pink jersey on the stage Alba Impera when the stage was run by Zuller. But when we came into the Forte del Marmi, Zuller lost it to Gonchar by 1 second when he was distanced in the run-in toward the finish, when the gaps opened up and he couldn't close the gap down. And Gonchar kept that jersey through until it went over the shoulders of Bartoli yesterday, who just got it by a slender 3 seconds from Gonchar. And now it looks like it can go back again, but there'll be not a lot in it. Zuller determined here on his own. Well, Tony Rominger said to him way back at the start, he said, look, don't try and keep the pink jersey right the way through, let somebody else wear it and bide your time, don't work too hard to keep it. Well, now Zula's determined to go and get it back, and he's doing it by attacking the pink jersey on a virtually a one-to-one race. And here we go now with just 1 kilometre to go for Alex Zula, riding into pink at this rate of knots, unless of course Bartoli can pull something out. And interestingly enough, Luc Leblanc is taken up. Goodness knows why Luc Leblanc's got anything to do here. I should just left Bartoli out there to fry, and a double-decker bus in the background. How the heck did he get that all the way up here? I wouldn't like to drive that this mountain or take it back down again. The gap as he goes there is now 21 seconds. 21 seconds at the gap then, back from the Zula to the pink jersey. And here we go then with a chasing group. Well, this is no consequence really, we're just saying Zula versus Bartoli running now towards the finish at the Lago Laceno, and Zula's going to come in triumphantly here to take the victory, there's no doubt about that. And 15 seconds separated this morning, so he's going to get 12 seconds for the victory. And after that 12 seconds, what will be the gap there between himself? He's got on his shoulders, on his sleeves, the rings of the world champion in time trialling. He time trialled to perfection over the top of that climb to take the victory in Lago Laceno, and will also take over the pink jersey for sure, because the clock has now gone past 4 seconds between himself and Bartoli, who unfortunately will lose that jersey, but he's fought his way. He's really ridden beyond his normal levels in big tour like this one as Bartoli. He's still searching for every second so he can come back tomorrow and try and get that jersey back every day, day in, day out. There's no doubt about it. This is a great race this year. 23 seconds separates him, so now that's 35 seconds less 15. So it now, what's that, 30 odd seconds just separating the two. So Zula certainly way up there in the pink jersey, and that will take some getting off him, because the Festina team have been having a few quiet days now. They've had a chance to ride comfortably in the bunch, and we saw there the way that Belly was climbing, the way that Amamir was climbing, that Zula will not want very much for help round about him to preserve that pink jersey in these next few days to come. But an amazing piece of bike racing we've seen today, as the group coming in here now over a minute down. Oscar Camazin is in that group in the centre riding in, so he's lost a bit of time today. This is going to bring a new view to the overall classification, as Farazin, the Mappa Brickaby rider, the national champion of Italy, comes in just about a minute and 20 seconds down, and Zula being whipped away, ready for the presentation up on the victory rostrum. We've got, I think we've run out of time, by the way. I think we were due to finish at 5 o'clock, so if we do go off pretty quickly, at least we know one thing today. We know who's won the stage, we know who's got the pink jersey, so that's been a tremendous day's racing again, and we have a certain amount of sympathy then for Bartoli to have lost the jersey, but he defended as far as he could do in the fine style, and a man who's won the Liège-Bastogne-Liège this year, won the Liège-Bastogne-Liège the previous year, so he's really now a man who loves the single day racing, but he's shown today he's prepared to battle out on the big stage races as well to try and preserve the leader's jersey. There, coming in then, a man who I thought might do well today, Piccoli, is over 2 minutes down, 2 minutes 15 seconds down, so Piccoli, who started this morning 11 seconds adrift of Bartoli, has lost a lot more time. The position will be a lot more comfortable then too for Zula, because he's done damage to a lot of riders. Just behind him, Pantani this morning, for instance, was some 30 seconds adrift of Zula. So Zula could be looking tomorrow about going into the next stage at least half a minute clear of everybody else. Another look at Zula coming in to finish, and with that gap round about half minute ahead of everybody else, he will have a nice cushion going into the racing tomorrow. One or two riders staying as close to what they could do, but he just demonstrated today his ability to climb and to time trial him. Well, stage 7 we're going to be on a bit later in the afternoon, just a half an hour programme. We'll be seeing the whole action all the way through before you see just the last half an hour a bit later on, because we've got so much other things coming up on Eurosport tomorrow. A very busy day indeed it is too, with football and looking at the finishing of Zuller. We're going over to Sports Centre, Carlton Kirby, updating what's going on. And then tennis, the dulcet tones once more of David Mercer and Froome. A little bit less frenetic, I think, for the tennis, and no doubt you'll get your breath back like I will. I'm David Duffield. I've enjoyed your company. I look forward to you joining me tomorrow on what looks like being another full day of sport from Eurosport. Stay tuned. Be with you tomorrow. Until then, arrivederci. Well, good afternoon to you all, and on Eurosport we're bringing you the back end of this interesting stage 7 of the Tour of Italy, going through from Montella to Matera. 238 kilometres in all, that's 148 miles. A bit of a conky course today, being going up and down, but generally speaking the lid's been kept on all the hopefuls' aims and aspirations to take the pink jersey off the overnight leader Alex Zuller. We have here on your screen right now this long lone breakaway on his own of Matthew White. Who, you might say, is Matthew White? Well, Matthew White, riding here for the Rosemary Chips team, is an Australian. He was riding with the Giant team last year and the year before, and now he's switched into the Rosemary team. He's been quite sort of keen to show himself at the back end of the race so far. We've had on the previous day Matthew White popping out like a cork and then being snaffled before the finish. We've got less than 10 k's to go, and he's thrown down the gauntlet now, and the time check with 10 k's to go is round about 20 seconds, so he has a sort of chance, but somehow with the size of that field behind him right now, I think that he's like to be snaffled up before we get to the finish. So many fish to fry, and a lot of fish frying going on today, because Bartoli has now narrowed the gap between himself and Alex Zuller. We'll try and put you in the picture. There's so much going on now toward the finish, but let's cram it in for you. Alex Zuller started this morning, having won yesterday's stage ahead of Michel Bartoli. Luc Leblanc was third. Bartoli yesterday getting 8 seconds bonus behind Zuller, getting 12 seconds. Zuller came over the line 24 seconds ahead of Bartoli. By a complicated system of mathematics we now have starting this morning, Bartoli in second spot overall as far as in stars to pull back Matthew White now. But certainly this morning 13 seconds only separating Bartoli, the previous pink jersey, from Alex Zuller. Back in third spot, Luc Leblanc, fine ride yesterday to get himself into third spot, is at 50 seconds. And the information which is important to you is we had an Giro sprint down the road after 104 kilometres. Mariano Piccoli was first, grabbing 6 seconds bonus. Second behind him was Matteo Fagnini, grabbing 4 seconds bonus. He wears the blue jersey as the leader on the Giro sprint. We're still looking at Matthew White here, hanging on for grim death. And in third spot, Michel Bartoli grabbed third place and 2 seconds bonus. So coming into the finish now with about 8 kilometres to go, Michel Bartoli now has an only 11-second deficit between himself and Alex Zuller. At the end of the stage today, there's a bonus of 12 seconds for first, again 8 seconds for second spot and 4 seconds for third. So watch out, looking down the row now, for the pink jersey of the Maglia Rosa, the overall race leader, Alex Zuller. And also in there, in the Ciclamino jersey, it's a sort of Victoria plum colour, you'll find the jersey of the second place on general classification, Michel Bartoli. Bartoli's going to really work his nuts off to try and get the stage victory today, because now this gap is coming down on our lone leader and the big bunch is starting to move forward. It could be all down to a finishing sprint. We've seen some wonderful racing so far today. We've even seen Cipollini, as Fazin starts to wind things up here. We've even seen Cipollini leading the chase to try and pull back the breakaways too. His Psycho team were with him, and then slowly but surely, as the early breakaways were pulled back, Cipollini had done a marvellous job today, absolutely superb. We've been over a number of climbs today. The first to climb after 11 kilometres was taken by Paolo Bettini, who leads on the King of the Mountains competition. He has the green jersey. Alessandro Baronti was second, and Chepi Gonzalez, yes, he who fell off yesterday, was in third spot. He, well, they say, lives with all his wives, daughters, so wives singular, daughters, sisters, et al. Back at home. No wonder he races over here rather than going back to Colombia. But anyway, he was third today, didn't fall off coming down the mountain. As again, we're watching Farah's in here. I'm trying to give you all the information that's gone on today. Still Matthew White's hanging on for grim death. It was his teammate just got caught down there. It looks like Farah's might get him too in a minute. But after the Giro sprint, we had another climb after 115 kilometres at Valliccio Romito. 24 kilometres of climbing that was, and again Piccoli over the top there in first spot, Bettini second, Chepe Gonzalez third. So that was the score we've had on the climb so far. And there's Chepe Gonzalez, as I say his very name, he appears. Hey, this is an amazing little character. He even took over the green jersey for a short while last year in the Tour of Italy, which are bringing you live on Eurosport all the way through from front to back for the first time ever. So I hope you're enjoying it back there in Great Britain. And let's see who's going to win the stage today. That's the rundown at the moment then. Bartoli just poised, 11 seconds behind. Still Matthew White hangs on for grim death. There Chepe Gonzalez for the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport squad is in second spot. Farazin from the Mape team in third. I have some information for you too as well by the tame carrier pigeon I've got, covered in tartan, wearing the kilt. He flew in today to tell me that up there in Scotland in the time trial that they had for the Pro Tour today at Stirling, guess who won it? The Pro time trial? You got it, 10 out of 10. Chris Boardman was first, George Hincapie was second, and Baranovsky was the third. Both of those second and third riders riding for the US Postal Team. So that's a bit of information what's happened back in Great Britain. That happened at lunchtime today, and Matthew White still hanging on in here for grim death. Let's hope he can make it. He really is a gutsy rider, this fellow. When he first turned pro, he had 4 successes straight away, but they're out in South Africa, in Australia, and he ended up by winning the Great Southern Wildflower Tour. What a lovely name, the Great Southern Wildflower Tour. Well, there'll be flowers of victory if he can make it to the finish right now, but somehow I think he could get snaffled up before he gets there. Yes, so there he goes. That's the final climb of the day, the last one we've gone over. And that one after some 231 kilometres of racing, about 7 kilometres to go. It looks like Chepe Gonzalez has now closed him down. Chepe Gonzalez, I say, who lives with a multitudinous number of ladies back at his home, is his mother, 5 sisters, wife and daughter. What's that, 5, 6, 7, 8 female company when he gets back into Colombia. I wonder if it was a washing up, I asked myself. Don't answer that. So he's now caught up. Chepe Gonzalez, a jiggly chappy here, caught up with Matthew White. And Matthew White, the big powerful fellow, you can see, built much more for time trial. And Chepe built for mountain climbing. But I wonder if these two can stay away, because it gets over the top here and starts to run down a bit. And the attacks are coming thick and fast. And that looks like, look LeBlanc, look the White. So if we get LeBlanc up there with Matthew White, we'll have 2 versions of White, one in French, one in from Australia. And here they come, and he's going to catch him, I think, as Chepe Gonzalez pulls over. Well, Luc Leblanc has been going extremely well, and amazing enough, he's been making confident statements to the press. Whenever you talk to him, normally Luc Leblanc has got a face like as long as a fiddle, and he's always saying, you know, his legs are no good. He reminds me sometimes of Les West back in Great Britain, who's always saying, oh, I'm no good today, this is no good, that's no good. And he go and win the race, you see. Well, Luc Leblanc's a bit like that. You seldom get him smiling and happy and saying he's fit, but he's beginning to get a bit confident. And so is this character, because no sooner than Leblanc tried to get up to White, then he's gone away again. There we are, that's Bartoli in the Ciclamino jersey. That's the man to watch for. He wants this win today. If he gets it in 12 seconds bonus, he can dislodge Alex Zuller off the top spot. Still though, White hanging on for grim death here. Well, the Kingdom Manners green jersey has been held by Zuller, but Bettini, by his performances today so far, is able to move forward and is now the leader on the Kingdom Manners competition. He missed out then when White got that one, but now looks like Marco Vella begin to go for it with one of the riders from the Balan team. They've hauled back Matthew White. He's now been hammered, and it is Marco Vella on the front. And alongside him, that's Loader, I think. Yep, they're going away, these two. Looking back then. Surely, though, as the ever-present Psycho rider moves up to them, that's Frigio, Daniel Frigio in the red. The Psycho Cannondale rider just sat there in third spot. Now, it's a very tricky run in here, this long, stringy run you're getting here into a marvellous old town. This town, you don't know if you're much about literature, but Matera, Carlo Levi wrote a marvellous book called Christ Stopped at Eboli, and it was centred around about this town they're going into now, Matera, and I hope we get a chance to look at it. Marvellous place with the houses which are built into caves into the hillside. It's a tremendous place. The roads as they go through here, they really are set out so that I don't see the bunch coming back together. Every man for himself. You've got to be in the top, 20, 25 places, I think, to have a go here. As moving through Bettini there in the green jersey, and suddenly again on the right hand side another of the riders of Mercatone goes. No sign of the pink jersey from Zuller. He's not a great sprinter. He must hope against hope that in fact it's Gabriel Colombo that's gone off the front. Winner of the Milan-San Remo a couple of years ago. Konishev has gone with him. Konishev has taken over Marcavello now into second spot for the Mercatone team, who really have a new life in Marco Pantani, who's lying fourth overall, just 24 seconds down on 24 seconds he was down yesterday, and Pantani's now moved sixth overall at 1 minute and 2 seconds. So the whole pack was sorted yesterday on what they call the first big day of the race, and that was only day 6 of the Tour of Italy. Still trying to persist out there in front. Look at the jerseys coming through. I'm waiting to see where Bartoli's got to. There's no way that Zuller can sprint with this little lot. He's going to hang on and hope to stay out of trouble and not get caught in any crashes. But you can see in the green jersey, Paolo Bettini is doing a wonderful teammate's job for Bartoli to try and get him in a good position. Colombo still goes in the front, and Konishev pulls over, and they're starting to come through again from behind. And creeping up on the left-hand side in the red jersey, that is Matteo Cipollini, moving into 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the front at the moment. Well, we're thinned down the sprinters. Minali and Bilalemans are not in the bunch today. They were outside the time limit yesterday, as was also Yura Gonzalez and Apollino. They missed it yesterday. Richard abandoned. We have 155 riders left in the race now, and so Cipollini must be the number one shout, together with Ado, together with Valdado, together with Bartoli. Let's see who's going to get this one, because there's a lot of good chaps still in there today. Despite this sort of conky ride we've had so far, most of the big people are still there. 1, 2, 3 back still. Bettini trying to lead out his man in the Ciclamino jersey, but he's got out of sight now. So still, as the Radisson Balan go on the front, Paolo Bettini there. Then there's Konishev. There's Cipollini. What has happened to the Ciclamino jersey? Looks to me as if Bartoli's dropped back a bit to get a breath back. In fact, Bartoli's tracking behind the train here of Balan, and he's just situated on the wheel, not far from Cipollini. He must now think of the danger, but one man's going away on the right-hand side as we go to break. Oh dear! The finish now so close, and still these riders all jockeying for a good position, and a lot of the men who are hoping to get a success have to be there in that front part of the field, and goodness knows what's happened at the moment to the Ciclamino jersey of Bartoli, who just 11 seconds back on Alex Zuller, still trying to fight his way through there to get that final sprint and to take the victory and to take the pink jersey back again. What a race we've had so far in the Tour of Italy. It's been changing all the time. We've had Zuller in the pink jersey, then Gonchar, then Bartoli took it, then Zuller took it back again, and so much still in the balance in this race, with now only the day 7 of this 22-day race. Oh, and they're slowing down. This could really suit the people a bit further back down the line. Mappe began to come strong on the front as well. We saw an early attack in the race when Munoz tried to go away yet again, but that got nullified too. And we had a little breakaway group of some 3 riders who managed to get no more than a couple of minutes down ahead of the main field, but they got snaffled up in the end. But right now it's going to be down to a bunch sprint finish. And on the left-hand side yet again for Mercatone Uno, and they're letting him go. He's gone away like a rocket. Can't pick him out from here for you. There with 1 kilometre to go. The rest of the field stringing after him. Well, Mercatone Uno, their main man for the overall success is Marco Pantani, but Konishev is normally man to go for a long sprint, but that's not Konishev. It's a bit too small for him. Marcavello's tried and fell so far, so it could be Falcone. I can't pick it out now, but he's got a bit of a lead, and look at the field behind. They're slowing down, slowing down. Nobody wants to chase him. This could be, as we saw the other day when we had a stage victory, when suddenly they all looked over the shoulders and off down the road we had a complete surprise victory, and now it looks like we might have another one going exactly the same way, because when Piccoli took stage 1 into Cuneo, he did just this. He went away, nobody wanted to chase, and he went away and got them all napping, but right now they're starting to come up and it looks like they're going to get him. And they are, and launching down the left-hand side, that could be Spruck for the Mape team. He's their best sprinter, trying to go for this one. On the right-hand side of your screen now, and Spruck starts to go for this one. And the send-out, Bartoli's come from nowhere in the middle. Bartoli can get this one and take the lead, but Cipollini on the left-hand side of him now takes the victory. Oh, disappointment for Bartoli. Cipollini came through at the last minute, and I think Bartoli in the end probably finished about 4th or 5th back. A determined effort as a pink jersey crosses the line to try and take the victory, but it was not to be. What a finish, and where did Cipollini come from? I thought Bartoli surged through. He'd been a long way back. He'd obviously sitting in the wheels and biding his time. He'd got that one stitched, but Cipollini burst through just at the last minute and took that victory. Absolutely superb piece. That gives him now 23 victories in the Tour of Italy. Takes him ahead of the victories of Roger de Vlamic. Mario Cipollini has now got 23. That takes him up to Francesco Moser, who had 23 victories in the Tour of Italy, and if he goes one more he'll catch up with Cerrone, and if he gets to 25 he'll catch up with Eddie Merckx. The Lion King has started to roar. He's had a disappointing start to the season, and we look to it again. 2 minor victories before the Tour of Italy. He's had one stage already when he burst through the pack at Frascati to take the victory. Now watch this, look at the big fellow in red. Absolute superb timing, and taking that one just ahead of Baldato with Ado into 3rd spot. Baldato on the left there for the Riso Scotti team, and just wedged behind them the little fellow in the green and white stripes for the Calmi team into 3rd spot, Ado. But poor Bartoli here in the Ciclamino jersey didn't get the victory he wanted, so he is still 11 seconds behind. But for Cipollini, that's number 23. Take him up there to the victory of Francesco Moser. The man who scored more victories than anybody else, Alfredo Brinda, 41 stages. Then 31 stages, Leaco Guerra. 30 stages, Costante Gironengo. Eddie Merckx with 25 stage victories, and something tells me the way that Cipollini is going, he could well be up there with the ball heading forward. This is that beautiful town I told you about, the marvellous houses built into the rock, and behind them are the houses, and it's been a very impoverished part of Italy for many years. If you look at confirmation of the result then, and it's the provincial capital of Eastern Basilicata, and here it was that Cipollini got this victory too. I mean, those caves you just saw behind you, the poor people used to live in them many years ago, and it was almost ignored. If you looked on the map to see where we're finishing today, it's the bit, if you've got it like the toe of Italy in the heel, it's the bit up there on between the toe and the heel, just up above there, a bit where the butcher's boy always ride their bikes with their feet pressed on the pedals rather than holding on the front where their toes are. They slam the feet down just above the heel. Well, just above there is where we finished today, and what a great finish it's been then for Mario Cipollini. The lion has roared. Steady, steady boy. Terrible chap. Threatening the girls with the champagne, but he's gentleman enough not to do that. So now go home, I'm sure, get his mobile phone and phone home to say he's got the victory. But of course they'll be watching it on television too, beamed across not only by Eurosport but also by Rai as well. What a lovely part of the world it is here. There are 2 Sassis, Sassi Barisano and Sassi Cavezo, and that's the view you're having now as we're looking at the joyful Zulla, who survived by the skin of his rather delightfully white teeth to keep that pink jersey, and he'll go on tomorrow on the next stage, which will take us down right into the heel of Italy. We go down from Matera to Lecce. It will be on, I think, on Eurosport tomorrow afternoon at about 6:30, same sort of time. Will he be popping the champagne cork? I don't know. There we are then. Matera to Lecce, 191 kilometres. The Pro Tour goes down from Edinburgh to Newcastle, finishes there around about just after 2:15 with 4 laps of the town centre. So if you like cycle racing, you're up there in the northeast, watch out and go and see that one. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's stage on the Tour of Italy. I wonder if Cipollini can get it a hat-trick, well, 3rd victory in this Tour. Join me tomorrow. I'm David Duffield. I hope you be with us. Until then, arrivederci. And everybody's on the rivet. This is the moment when your teeth are clamped on the handlebars and you're grovelling in the gutter. You're just hoping the thing will ease back a bit, but you can't let go for 1 minute. The gap opens up, zonk, you're in the next group after that one. The chase is on. Well, the Polti team with Luc Leblanc in there, still distance from that leading group of some 8 men. They've got the pink jersey in there. Zulla's got a few of his teammates round about him as well. This is an amazing circumstance we've got here. And in there too, number 2, Matteo Cipollini's there. See him? That's a good move by Cipollini. Also in the blue jersey with the red shorts, the man who's leading on the Inter-Giro at the moment. He's nicely positioned in there too. That's Fagnini. But the Polti team have really got some work to do here. Not only to catch back with the pink jersey up in front, but still that breakaway group in front yet to be caught. What superb pictures we're getting. This great long straight Roman road, because we're going down to a part of the world which was very much a centre of the Roman Empire some years ago. Also, it's a place that's changed hands many times in the past. A beautiful city of Lecce, which I hope we have time to look at. It really is a flat run-in. We've got the circuits of the town to complete it, and Mr. Cipollini must be hoping that the work will be done to pull this thing back together to get a second victory. Got one yesterday, Cipollini. In fact, in the part of the world we are now, in Puglia, P-U-G-L-I-A, Puglia, he won his first ever victory, did Cipollini, in a stage in the Tour of Puglia, Giro di Puglia. He won that one. Anyway, they're now catching back that breakaway group, begin to pull them back. They're coming back together now. So they've come back together, caught the 18. The rest of the field begin to catch up now. Still, the Polti team have done a tremendous job there to pull them back together. Some ideas, hey, not only flat as a pancake, probably as flat as a pizza, which is a day old without any topping on it. Well, there we are, 3 laps to go then for these riders, and the countdown of time towards this group behind. They look like about 20 seconds adrift at the moment, but there, Zulla being protected by his teammates, and just behind Zulla I can see Matteo Cipollini poised, but the man we really must look out for when we come to the sprint, as we now get a hedgehog's view. Okay, duck! No, it's like to be squashed if you're a hedgehog. The field have gone straight over a mini camera that they've probably put in what is the equivalent, I suppose, of one of those little cat's eyes you get on the roads back in Great Britain. But I've never seen like that in my life before. And all this camera angle is quite new now, to pop one on where about the bottle cage is on the seat tube of Matteo Cipollini. But down the left-hand side of your picture, you can see our breakaway twosome, who are still hanging on in there as we've now gone round. We've got 3 laps of this 4.2 kilometre circuit to do, and I think unless they can really motor a bit more and get out of sight, they might well be caught before we get towards the finish. We'll take a short break. Stay with us. These 2 riders still hanging on for grim death to try and stay away from the chasing group. Now we've got 2 laps to go, and the big pack still hovering behind, waiting to pounce. We come through some beautiful parts of the world, and there, as they come in towards us now, the birds of prey about to pounce. In fact, this part of the world is where there's a great deal of birds of prey, but they're shot by the so-called sportsmen with their guns, and not much chance of seeing buzzards and goshawks, which are down here together with the short-toed eagle. I'm sure my good friend Phil Liggett, the commentator of Channel 4, would be very interested in coming down just to see if he can spot some of them. And now we have a snail's view again of that bunch going by. So 2 riders out here. I think suddenly swooping on them will come that Psycho team from behind. They really have got very little opportunity of staying away. As we have a slow-mo, Mello Cipollini, duck folks, he's coming at us from all directions. God, I've never seen like this before in my life. You know it's like to be a hedgehog. Well, we should go back to the race because the gap's narrowing down right now. I'd rather be seeing how that gap's coming rather than trying to duck and dive as the riders come at us. But they're doing weird and wonderful things with the cameras this time in the Tour of Italy. The sort of work I've not seen before. And at least we've got these two we can now see have survived so far. But we're just a 4.2 kilometre circuit and flat as a pancake. You can see there's no chance then, I think, of them staying out there with the Psycho team actually ploughing away at the front at the moment. Full of seconds covering the top half dozen riders. Now two chaps are hanging on here for grim death. Let's see what they're going to do now. They're going to hear the bell in their ears. Well, they come through now for the last lap. There it goes, 4.2 kilometres left. And that Claudio Chiappucci, what must be just on the back of this little group, just in the bowl Claudio pop out. Claudio is saying that the one thing he wants to do is to win a stage in the Tour of Italy. He's not here to go well on the overall classification. Duck again, but Claudio Chiappucci looking for a chance to get a stage success. He's now 35 years of age. He is probably the oldest man in the race. Pascal Richard, who retired a couple of days ago, was 34, so that surely leaves Claudio up there as one of the oldest riders in the race, next possibly to Gianni Bugno of the Mappe Brickleby team. Gianni Bugno, 34 years of age, so still Claudio Chiappucci at 35, ploughing on, looking for a stage success, but I don't think he'll get in the sprint today. I'm not quite sure whether this photographic shot is sponsored by the tyre manufacturers. Hope we can read the label on their tyres when they go by, but that's something. Oh, the chaps on the right-hand side, by the way, have just been coming onto the circuit. They got blown out further on back, so on this little circuit now, the riders will now be put on one side. They'll be timed by the judges when they came into it, but they'll be kept out of contention. Let the chaps here now race for this final sprint. In fact, I think today they had, I'm not quite sure, there's some laps into Newcastle for the finish. No, it's straight in, that's right, for the Pro Tour. Tomorrow, by the way, it goes from Gateshead down to York. If you're going to watch on the side of the road, starts at 9:50 in the morning, ending up around about 2:15 in York, heading down across the York Moors. We're going to have, say, a flattish ride tomorrow when we set back up north. We're right down at the heel of Italy. If you know the shape of Italy like a boot that it is, we're right down in the heel at the moment, and tomorrow we go from Foggia up to Vasto, going back up country, heading towards the Alps and the Dolomites, and some great big climbs yet to come. And Polti taking over yet again. Polti moving through, and looks like Psycho thinner, and see the green, white and blue colours of the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport team, trying to get Ado in contention to put Mr. Cipollini's nose out of joint, and also moving up there I can see Bartoli in the pink. So the riders now beginning to start to go. Summers, one of the Psycho riders, gets himself marooned and pushed out on the right hand side. It's all changing. Psycho's done the work, but Polti now trying to get this stage victory. They could do with one. Looking for Silva Martinelli, who rides for the Polti team, to come good, and that will be really putting Cipollini's nose out of joint. There's no love lost between those two. Martinelli used to be the lead-out man for Cipollini until they fell out in a big way. And Martinelli, when we started the Tour of Italy in Greece a couple of years ago, went into the pink jersey by virtue of the early sprints that he got, and now right down before your very eyes, the team in the yellow and red colours trying to put Martinello in with a shout to get the victory. Can they do it? Can these two hang on? Are they leaving it too late? Nice move up the inside by the Psycho Cannondale rider in the blue. Nicely going in through there, Fagini, but I don't think he'll go for the victory. He'll just try and look back for his teammate again. And Cipollini now being a bit distanced by the attacks that are coming. They did all the work, the Psycho Cannondale team, but he's 1, 2, 3, 4 still back from the front. But he's still got a teammate in there. Martinello's just in front of him as he used to be, so he's tracking him down, and the two lads from the Kelme Costa Blanca team come round on either side and start to put the squeeze on him. This is going to get boxed in if he's not careful. But where is the Ciclamino jersey of Bartoli, looking for a first or second place, and he's still not there. Zulu won't contest the sprints at all. Cantinatola moving up now. The sprinters are very nicely performing on the front, but the man who's not in with a shout yet, Bartoli, can't spot him then as they catch the two breakaways, and here they come. Cantinatola starting to go on the right-hand side, and they've got the lead too. Where is Bartoli? He's left it a bit late. Surely he must get in that. He must have been really screwed by the speed of the chase for the stage victory, and he's not going to stand a chance of taking that pink jersey. He can't come, and he can't. And in the centre, Cipollini starts to roar through, and Il Lione got it again. Cipollini's second consecutive victory, and that's the view from his bike that crossed the line in first place. And I think just behind him was Martinello, who tried to get away just a bit further back down the road. There's a pink jersey of Zulla, so he'd be happy now, because I didn't see the jersey of Bartoli anywhere near the top three places, so by a slender 5 seconds, Zulla will keep that pink jersey of the overall race leader. But no doubt about it, a brilliant ride then by Cipollini, taking him up now to 24 victories to equal those of the ex-world champion Giuseppe Cerrone. A lot of people have been saying this fellow's gone off the ball. He's only had a couple of second-class victories early on this season, and now he's come bursting back into this race. He took the stage into Frascati, he took the stage yesterday into Matera, and now Cipollini's got his third stage victory of the 1998 Giro d'Italia. And looking back down there, he's making it look so, and that is certainly Martinello in the red and yellow just behind him on the right-hand side. So Cipollini, Martinello, and just behind him, let's have a look at this one. It looked a bit like Lione to me, and I think Arazza was back in full spot. All that power. That's the way to earn the money to buy a 5-bedroom house in Monaco with a rooftop swimming pool, something like 400 pairs of shoes and 700 shirts, a horse. No, that's not on the roof, just his swimming pool. He's got rooms just to put his clothes in, this character, and you can see how he wins it the hard way when it comes to sprinting. But he's got this far. Of all the sprinters have been dropping out, he's climbed the big mountains despite his bulk, and he's showing his sheer ability when it comes to sprinting, and that is an unstoppable piece of work by him. Let's have a quick look. I think he won, 5 victories last year in 1997. He's now got 3. We've only got another couple of chances apart from the finish in Milan, if he can make it that far, to beat his record from the previous year. But of course he'll never catch up with Alfredo Binda, who had 12 victories in 1927. That just won't be, because there's some thumping great climbs yet to come. Binda could win on the flat, he could win in the mountains, he could win all over the place, but this man has to keep his powder dry. But look how in second spot, Martinello, who used to be his lead-out man, marooned in second spot, couldn't come past him at all. So the points world champion Martinello on the left-hand side having to settle for second spot. But Cipollini, there he is. Oh gosh. The guy, I think that's an Inter Milan shirt he's wearing now. I don't know what on earth, and you'll never get fined for that. There must be some reason for it. He's probably got some reason. Number 10 is it's got number 10 on the back. I know that the football fans will tell me who wears 10 shirt. I think it's the Inter Milan shirt. The team down here, Lecce. Oh, you shouldn't do that. That's not allowed, actually. But isn't he terrible? God. I've heard of washing your hair in beer. They're going to now scrag him. Go on, girls, after him. Oh, dear. Well, the Tifosi love that, and now we're getting on to the more sombre parts of the proceedings when Alex Zulla, who's a very reserved Swiss gentleman, will put on the pink jersey. Not of the histrionics of Mr. Cipollini, who really doesn't bother about what he gets up to, but I've no doubt when he climbed off the steps they gave him a bit of a sort out. So they're leading at the moment on the overall classification by a slender 5 seconds. Alex Zulla in third spot then for Bartoli. Third spot, Luc Leblanc. still at some 50 seconds. Pavel Tonkov, fourth at 56 seconds. Salvadelli at 57 seconds back in fifth. Marco Pantani sixth. Nicola Michelli seventh. Dario Figio eighth. Ivan Gotti eighth. And Enrico Zaina 10th. Those are our top men. Gonchar, who took the pink jersey earlier on, still hovering there in 13th spot, 1 minute and 15 seconds behind. And we look back now at the sprinters still enjoying their moment of glory with the sun in their backs, because things are going to change. Not too bad tomorrow though on the stage, Foggia to Vasta. We'll be on air Central European time at 4:15. That'll be 3:15 back in Great Britain. I'm David Duffield. I've enjoyed your company today. I hope you will join me tomorrow for more action from the Giro d'Italia. Until then, arrivederci. 5 kilometres it is. That bunch really stringing along now. They've got to catch the two fugitives, but we're inside the final 5 kilometres at the moment. Those are our two leaders. A gap down to 15 seconds. It was well over 1 minute, but they've been hauled back by Psycho, chasing hard here now with the ASICS CJ team also interfering. And you can see the pinky colour or purpley coloured jersey, 1, 2, 3, 4 back to the front. That is Bartoli looking to get those vital few seconds bonus. He has just 5 seconds adrift of Zuller this morning. 12 seconds for first place, 8 seconds for second spot, 4 seconds for third. Can Michel Bartoli take the jersey off Zuller? Zuller will not contest the sprint. In fact, the other day when he lost the jersey, it was because he was too far back, marooned in a group 13 seconds away from the sprinters. Bartoli is not going to worry about that. He'll be in there pitching with the best of them. Who is he going to be? Suddenly they're swarming past Greer. He's done his job on the front. He's closed that gap down, and now it's somebody else's turn to take over. And see, Bettini's done his job. He's pulling off too as well. So our onboard camera, we may not be picking it up again because he's probably now absolutely blown a gasket and drifted back, allowing the rest of his team to take over. You can't keep this sort of pace up. They've been travelling somewhere around about 35, 36, 37 miles an hour, constantly. And on the front, this is where the effort is. The first half dozen men are doing the work. Further back as you go, they're being sucked along in the slipstream of the leaders. The danger is, of course, once you've done the work on the front, as you swing up and come back, that somebody who's sitting in the pack will go round the outside and down the gutter. As we saw right at the start of this race, when Piccoli took the stage into Cugno, when he caught everybody napping, he just took off on the far side. We're looking, oh, too late. They're going to get caught now, but if we go back with our camera, you have to watch out for now. See how they come together on this right-hand gutter. If somebody comes down there where Zuller is, he's gone now, but watch. So this is all concentrating here, and as the speed begins to slow just a little bit, then somebody will switch on the other side, and because of the overlap of the wheels, there won't be much opportunity for somebody to jump across and get on the wheel. And here, nice move too by Festina, with the confidence that Giuffo, their man, won the Tour Romandie just for the Tour of Italy, and now Giuffo having got the victory in the Midi Libre. They're looking to win the Tour of Italy. First time Zuller's ridden the Tour of Italy. And there he is in the pink jersey. But that man in the plum-coloured jersey just in front of him, Bartoli is a danger. 5 seconds adrift. Cipollini, look, there he is, just grabbing the brakes, winging his way through, closing up now. He's suddenly pushed his way through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the front. Beautiful move. This man couldn't care less. He just drives through, and he's a big fellow. You don't bounce people like Cipollini off your bike that easy. He saw a little slot, he went through. He's so cool. Just looking for the gaps there. Number 2 on left-hand side of the screen. Let's look. Here he is, right in the centre now. You watch Cipollini now on your screen. Look, moves the man across, just doesn't knock him too far. Then you watch him swing across and come through. Sorry, my mistake. There he's coming through in the middle. There we are. That's him now, coming through. Just to touch the brakes. Comes through, round and out. That takes a lot of courage. And over the years, a loss of skin too. Oh dear. Back with Mr. Shree. I thought he got blown, but he's decided to come back and have another go. And that's him on the front. Number 9, leading hard right now. Number 8 just behind him, another man from the Cycle Canada team. That's Salvadelli. And then in the blue jersey, that's the leader on the Intergiano, Fagnini. Still then Cycle Canada building this one up. Can Cipollini get his hat-trick. There we are, 2 kilometres to go. God, the power that's going down here. They've covered over 100 miles, average around about 25 miles an hour. On this, the 9th day of the race, they've covered nearly 1,000 miles and still ploughing away here. And still, best part of 2 weeks to go. Look at the expression on his face now on the front. Look at him, look! And see further back there, just more relaxed. The pressure on the front is intense. And then the riders start to come. What I said there, on the right-hand side, they start to go. Scrigno doing the old 1-2. Cut off by Bellam. And now suddenly Scrigno, after all that work, is going to die 1,000 deaths. They swarm past him. His job is done. Now it's down to like 1.5 kilometres. He'll just drift back and let the rest of his team take over. He's done his work. Didn't work for Scrigno. Bottom left-hand corner, Riso Scotti moving up. Could well be Baldato, looking good at the moment. In there too for the Balan team. Cantoneri, we're trying to put Colombo in with a run. Colombo looks like a bit of a run, a bit further back than this now. Looking a little bit late. Oh, the old pushing and shoving. That's in fact the team from Balan starting to wind this one up as Colombo's on the front this one, but on the left-hand side, Mercatone start to go for it. This is still anybody's race, and the man in red, Mr. Cipollini, is nowhere to be seen as still Balan starts to go, look, pushing and shoving the right-hand side of the screen. They're boring there from the Vitalicio team, and that was not nice at all. A lot of angry men in that bunch at the moment, trying to settle it with their shoulders rather than their fists. And still Balan on the front right now, trying to go for a long one here. Colombo's been doing a great deal of job, trying to set it up then for Gonchenkov in the finishing sprint, but where has Mr. Cipollini got to? And the answer is he's trying to come through and he's not to be seen. He has not got it in his legs at the moment, can't see him going for this one. He's going to go, I think, to Vitalicio Segura said on the line. Well, Cipollini came through on the left-hand side. I'll have to wait to see the rerun on that one. Did he make it in the end? Well, I don't think he did, but we'll have to wait for the result here. Looking on your screen, it's a mad gallop for the line. I know Cipollini did not make it there. Martinello on the right-hand side did not make it either. And nor did Spruck on the left-hand side, and it was that Baldato from Riso Scotti. I'll wait for confirmation of that one. Oh, it all changed suddenly, didn't it? Complete turn-up for the books. Everybody diving all over the place. Now here we go again. It changed in the last 50 metres. In fact, it changed in the last 10 metres. Well, this is the agony. Who got the ecstasy? Not on the left here, not Spruck. Looking from the top. Was it Pachueli on the right? Cipollini, look, Cipollini gets delayed by the Balan rider, then starts to go through. Then he's got Spruck on the outside. He forces his way past Spruck, starts to come through, and then thrusts the line, and he was too late there, much too late. He got delayed on his way in, and so it looks like it might have gone then to Pachueli of the Amore Vita team. Cipollini, look, he's right in the centre. He's behind the Balan rider in the white with the blue sleeves. He has to force his way through, looks for a gap across there, can't find it. He's undoubtedly the fastest man, but can't get a gap. He left it a bit too late. And as he comes here, it goes, yes, Amore Vita. And I reckon that could be Martinello's second. Certainly the Polti rider was second, behind the rider from Amore Vita, and I reckon Cipollini was third. Ooh, it won't like that. Spruck probably fourth. Well, if that was Petulli, it was a good sprint on his part. Or was it Glenn Magnusson, the Swedish rider? We'll wait for confirmation of that, but certainly Cipollini did not get his third consecutive victory in the Tour of Italy. Good view of the Palazzo d'Avalos. I'm sure that crane wasn't put up there way back in what was it, the 14th century. I'll wait for the official results and what was a superb sprint at the end of it all. In fact, it is Magnusson from the Amore Vita team down on the right-hand side. Now watch where he gets to. As Martinello on the left, see the yellow and red colours, starts to flick and decides the best way is not through that sandwich. He's looking for a gap, can't get it. The Moto Nuno rider now is nice and comfortable in the front. Looks like he's got it stitched up, but he's going to slow enormously. And there, Magnusson goes to the right in the black and red for Amore Vita. In the red and yellow, Martinello forces his way through. In the red, wearing number 2, Cipollini can't find a way through because Brook won't come off his line. And so by the time Cipollini goes through, Magnusson gets it from Martinello and Cipollini in third spot. Spruck was fourth. That is the way I see the top 4 in the finish. I'll wait for confirmation of that. As we look again at this beautiful old town with its 13th century fortress and the beautiful Piazza Rossetti. And we might see some of the old walls as well, because they still do exist here in Vasto, a part of Abruzzo. And if we have a chance to look back in the old part of the town, some nice little narrow streets as well. There's a mixture of old and new buildings, you can see. The 13th century cathedral, beautiful Gothic portal as well. And we have a look at the San Palazzo d'Avos. And now the Castello Calderesco. I don't think you're going to see, by the way, in here, but in the Piazza Diomede, there's a statue of Dante Gabriel Rossetti, who actually a poet, and his family came from Vasto in the past. But back from the history now and on to the sprints, when Mr. Cipollini's lean out man on the left-hand side for Polti forced his way through, couldn't get past Magnusson, nor could Cipollini. And I think Mr. Cipollini will be not very happy with that one. But in the purple jersey too, disappointment I think for Bartoli that he didn't get in with the shout for any bonuses. And there are Magnusson, Martinello, Cipollini. It was the result we spotted for you, and that was a tremendous finish for the sprinter from the Rosemary team. And a good success then, and yet another different result in the stage with Magnusson taking the victory. Magnusson, Martinello, Cipollini, Spruck, we got all those. Fontanelli was in 5th spot and Leone back into 6th. So yet another victor in the Tour of Italy on this, what is Bank Holiday Monday back in Great Britain. But as far as these riders are concerned, stage 9 from Foggia to Vastro, and a brilliant sprint then from the Amore Vita rider to take a victory. We haven't seen him win a stage in this race so far. As we look again at this beautiful old town, I told you some of the old walls are still there, some of the old doors are still there. In this town that dates back part of the 13th century fortress. We'll have a look at that too as well. Notice when many people come down the coast to Vasto, which, as I mentioned earlier on the programme, is off there on the just above the Achilles heel of the boot of Italy. And the contrast between a modern tennis court right down below there. But we will also be going back to tennis, by the way. We had a quick look at a tennis court. They're all deserved. They're probably going to watch on Eurosport the tennis from Roland Garros in Paris, where David Mercer and my colleague Fred from McMillan are waiting to McMillan to take you through the next lot of the tennis. Early days in tennis too, only day 9 in the Tour of Italy. We're going to be running right the way through the tennis with the Tour of Italy too. So only you tennis fans have just picked up and spotted this one. Hope you stay with us, and vice versa, you cycling fans who are live in the afternoon, stay with us for the tennis, which is yet to come up. But a great victory then for Magnusson of the Amore Vita team, and so they have so many changes in the race so far. Every day we've virtually had a different victor, except for Cipollini, who had 3 successes. But today he did not get his triple at all. He tried hard. He got himself very badly boxed. He couldn't force his way through, as Magnusson on the right-hand side of the screen rocketed through, and Cipollini, trying to find a way through, could not get his hat trick of victories. We'll be back on air tomorrow at 15:30 Central European time for the 10th stage of the Tour of Italy, and that stage is going to be a little bit conky towards the back end, so Cipollini might have lost his chance to get another victory. But Tennis Grand Slam coming up. From me, David Duffield, over to David Mercer. Bye-bye.